What's up, friends? Welcome to another episode of the Sonic Movie Show. What episode this is? Well, it happens to be episode 24. My name is Ethan. With me is Devin.
You know, as bad as those things are, at least they're predictable. It's the normal people that scare me.
So is this a Sonic quote still?
No, but this quote is from a popular
Because I've heard
video
this.
game that we'll talk about later. Keep you on your
Say
keep
it
you on the edge.
again. No, say it one more time.
I'll keep you on the edge of your seat here. The quote is, "You know, as bad as those things are, at least they're predictable. It's the normal people that scare me."
It's the normal people that scare me.
I'll tell you what it is later. I'll tell you what it is
Because
later.
I've heard this, but I don't think
You
it was
definitely
from a
have heard
video
this.
game.
It is a video game. 100%. According to thegamer.com.
Thegamer.com. I was actually
I'm not
kind of
even
hoping
joking.
you would randomly bust out a 24 quote. I watched like 3 straight seasons of that, binged it. Great show.
Speaking of watching things, what have you been watching? That's our new segment that I guess we're
That's
adding.
True. Yes. Well, last night, I watched the 1996 Tom Cruise classic, Mission Impossible. And I'm calling this a classic. Watching this film, which is great. It holds up really well. Sometimes they're looking at screens that are supposed to be like really high tech, and they're like smaller than your phone. but legit amazing film. And I'm actually mad watching it through. I'm mad that I was never introduced to that film as a child, because that would have literally have been like a touchstone of my childhood if I had seen that as a kid. That's legit. Have you
To be
seen
fair, that's
the original?
96. You're
But
one.
okay, so but not when it came out, Devin. I mean, like when you're like 7 or 8. Oh, what's on TV? Mission Impossible. You know,
You're making
Have
a good
you seen
point
it?
because I haven't seen any Mission Impossible movies.
dude.
the only
watch
Mission
the
Impos-
original Mission Impossible.
The only Mission Impossible things I've encountered is the Metallica song.
Really?
For the second Mission Impossible, they did a song.
See, I heard that the second Mission Impossible film is terrible. Well, it used to be a 70s TV show.
What?
Yeah,
That is a
legit.
fast fact right there.
Yes. Fast and Furious
Fast and
facts.
Furious.
Impossibly factual. They're facts if you choose to accept them. It used to be like a kitschy 70s show. That's where the tropes of like, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to blah, 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 blah. This tape will now self-destruct in 5 seconds. Like, that's where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, like, shit like Incredibles uses it. All sorts of things are like, oh, the briefing message blows up. Mission Impossible used to be a very popular, like, TV show. Like, A-Team was, or, like, well, not really like MASH. MASH sucks. But one of those shows, and
MASH.
it kind of languished
I'm
for
going
a
to go
while.
down that avenue. I'm going to disagree with you, but
MASH sucks.
you have no idea the historical
MASH sucks.
Historical
They literally couldn't even
implications.
show any war. That was always, you're a kid and you're at your grandparents' house, right? And you're watching TV because there's nothing to do. And then you just hear that stupid song, and you're like, all right, time to go outside.
MASH was one of the first
And you know me,
TV
I don't go
shows to talk
outside.
about the Vietnam War, though.
Yeah, but did it actually talk about it? Anyway, I don't mean to disagree with you. I want to talk about Mission Impossible, a much better show than MASH. But no, they
You haven't
tried
even seen
bringing
the
it
show.
back. I have seen the show a few times. That's how they tried bringing it back, I think, in the 80s or something like that. They tried bringing it back as a show, and that failed. And then, like, they got Tom Cruise in, and it's great. And he's doing all his stunts, his own stunts in there. For some reason, he does, like, sleight of hand magic trick for no reason, really. It serves no purpose. And, like, he saved the studio money because he actually learned how to do it instead of them just compositing it out of, like, the thing he was holding out of, like, the camera. Like, he actually did. It's like a legit great film. Like, there are some weird CG stuff when there's a helicopter inside a train tunnel with lighting that looks really bad. But that's where you get the classic thing where, like, Andy's the spy is being slowly hanging down from a ceiling by, like, a rope to go take something, do something, or whatever. and he's trying to be all quiet and he's avoiding like lasers or whatnot, comes from that movie. It's a great movie.
It's weird that I haven't seen any Mission Impossible movies, considering the fact that my dad let me watch like Terminator, True Lies. I guess those are two Arnold Schwarzenegger films. Or like
Running Man,
the Bourne Identity.
See, I've never seen those either.
Those are really good. At least the first three. I heard there was a fourth one that I didn't see because I don't think it had
Bourne
the same
Identity
actor.
was apparently definitely capitalizing off of the success of the Mission Impossible like revival.
I want to say Bourne Identity came out in 2000. It's a little bit later, but yeah,
See,
any of those I've definitely seen like those types of movies. It's just kind of weird. I haven't really.
Right. I mean, and you never really saw.
Maybe it's a Tom Cruise
any
thing.
of the James
I don't
Bond
know.
films either. Have you?
I've seen Casino Royale.
Okay.
And
First Daniel Craig one.
I've seen that one like plenty of times, like at least 4 or 5 times.
Oh, geez, wow.
Like it's always on FX or whatever as a
Okay.
kid, so I just always have it. I'm like, yeah, he's
With
so cool.
Mads Mikkelsen,
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima's favorite actor. I don't get it.
I'm trying to think. What was the second one called?
Well, the second Daniel Craig one was called Quantum of Solace.
I think I saw that once.
Then
Or,
there
like,
was
parts of it.
Skyfall, which I'm surprised you never saw until
Parts of it.
Until Spider-Man: Far From Home came out. That was Sony's best performing picture ever. Was Skyfall?
I think when did that come out? Like 2015?
No, like
2016?
2011, 2012.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, because then there was Spectre, which came out around the time frame you just mentioned.
Skyfall.
The song is a classic,
Skyfall 2012.
and it's a shame
Late
that it's okay. Yeah. It's a shame that the next, No Time to Die is delayed till November, but
yeah.
But I don't know.
Oh,
It's
speaking
like-
of delays, real quick, I'll say that the only Sonic news we had, which was why we're not really covering it, is that the Sonic movie opening was supposed to be, I think, March 27th. It's now being delayed because of the coronavirus. So,
and
tough
where
luck
did-
for
Where
Sonic.
did you say this was?
Japan.
Japan.
It's already been delayed
Yeah.
in China, so now it's delayed in Japan.
Wow. Well, I mean,
It really sucks.
I said last episode, the best we can hope for, well, it feels weird to hope on behalf of a corporation's success, but the best case scenario for that film and the people that worked on it is that this only delays sales of tickets and not like diminishes potential tickets.
Yeah, because now it might come out during another film.
Because
release.
you also have to think how many people, and I'd imagine this happens a lot in China. I don't know if I'm stereotyping or anything like that, but piracy might be more like of an accessible option if you literally can't go see the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you really want to see it, like you might. I had a coworker that just could not get tickets to see Endgame, so he pirated it. And I would just wait until, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
some people are like that. But I don't think that would really hurt the film. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we've talked high and low about our thoughts on the film and what we think the results will be. We both think that there's going to be.
Well, we
sequels,
also, none of us predicted a epidemic to
It's true.
throttle ticket sales
true.
for Sonic the Hedgehog. Who would have thought? 2020. What a timeline,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. I mean, like some companies like Microsoft are telling their employees to work from home, and they're working with
Yeah.
all of these solutions. Like, hey, if you're an hourly employee, we will pay for the time that you can't work. It's an epidemic, or at least
we'll
it
say
very
that
well
this
could be an
podcast will
actual
keep
one.
going on.
Oh, for sure,
Even
every
if we're
single
sick.
Sunday.
Yep.
Yep.
Until we die.
Yep. I mean, to be quite frank, if I get coronavirus, then I'll have even more time to work on this because I'll be home.
I'll be home.
Yeah, but yeah, you should watch the first Mission Impossible.
It's
I
on-
rented it.
it's
I
on
rented
my
it on
list.
Amazon Prime for like $3. It legit like
$6 like Hobbs and Shaw.
Hey, you enjoyed that. It had twists and turns, and it surprised me very early on.
Yeah, we did watch Hobbs and Shaw, by the way, for the audience.
Yes, the final Fast and Furious film that we needed to see.
In terms of what I'm watching.
Oh, we don't care about that.
Okay. Trying to think of any movies. Saw Invisible Man. The Invisible.
Okay.
Is it The Invisible Man or Invisible Man? I think it's The Invisible Man.
It's the film that has the titles of Invisible and Man in it.
Correct. Which came out, I think, on my birthday, actually, February 28th. So it's been out for 2 weekends. Well, yeah, 2 weekends
It's recent.
now. It's recent. No one's really competing with it, I don't think. So I think it's doing pretty well.
Sonic?
I was going in, I was feeling like not expecting much, especially from the trailer. I've watched the original Invisible Man. I have a poster of the original Invisible Man. It's based off a book by, I believe it's the guy who did War of the Worlds, same guy. And if I remember correctly, in that one, Invisible Man is like some crazy scientist dude who turns himself invisible and then becomes a national threat. This one is a little bit different. I won't go into spoilers.
He's a creepy boyfriend, right?
Yeah, creepy boyfriend. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to... There's a lot of little stuff that was pretty cool that I liked, especially in terms of the Invisible Man itself.
The effects on not being able to see him were very good.
No, I'm saying like just what they did with that. Like, you think that... What could you really do with invisibility? Like, that hasn't been done before, maybe? I don't know. Like, in terms of superhero movies or whatnot. And they did a couple cool things. There's a couple plot twists in there that I wasn't expecting. It wasn't scary. It's definitely more of a thriller than it is a horror. I would not say it's a horror film. To me, horror has to have, like... I have this debate with myself all the time, mentally, where...
I'm like... that it could end at any moment, horribly.
Well, it's more just like, what is a horror film and what is a thriller? And can they, and both, you can be both, definitely. Like, The Witch is a good example where I think it's a thriller at moments, but it's also horror because it has, classic horror motifs, witches and Satan. But this is, to me, was more of a thriller than it was a horror. Like 90% thriller, maybe 10% horror. It depends on what you find scary. I guess it's the scary.
I find a lot of things scary.
I mean, the idea of someone being invisible that you don't want
that's
to be
hot,
following
though.
you.
That's hot.
Is following you? I don't know. To me, it was more of a thriller. I would recommend seeing it in theaters for sure. If you can see it in a Dolby theater, I say you see any horror thriller film in a big sound theater.
Environment?
It's sound environment, yes. Because I think horror and thriller films rely heavily on sound. Like, you can't watch...
Get it on VHS if you can. It's going to be harder to see them.
Like, I've heard people be like, "Oh, I don't like that horror movie that like I really liked." And I'm like, "Oh, where'd you watch it?" "Oh, I watched it at home." And I'm like, "Well, that might be something to do with it. That you didn't feel scared because you're not. The environment wasn't scary.
You're in a safer, and you probably had the lights on.
Lights on, maybe.
Yeah.
Or you watched it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
We watched the Saw films with like all the lights off and stuff.
Yeah, we watched the Saw films in the middle of
all
nowhere at the Adirondacks. So
yeah, which was. And you guys had bedrooms to sleep in. I was sleeping in the living room where all of the windows were around me.
Yeah, this is our friend David's. He has like
we were in a cabin in the woods.
Cabin in the woods. We should have watched Cabin in the Woods. Honestly, that would have been been a full effect. Have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
No, I haven't. I know it's scary. David was upstairs with like a shotgun. Like, he was safe. I wasn't.
But there was a giant window like on my right, like because it was like a small little bedroom, and like I just refused to sleep. Like looking at the window, I'm not gonna even lie.
I had no option unless it's like face down, ass up was the only way I could sleep. That was quote unquote safe. All right. And if the Invisible Man is coming after me, I don't think that's safe either.
But even the Saw movies, like I wouldn't say is like scary.
They're torture porn.
It's
well, besides
gore.
the first one or two.
Yeah,
but...
it's horror, but I wouldn't say it's like, oh my god, like that is something. That I could like that's something so unbelievable that like it's like there's monster horror, there's gore porn, like you said, there's supernatural hauntings, there's different types of horror for sure.
Aliens.
Even that's a whole other thing, like extraterrestrial horror, like Signs, that creeped me out as a kid. but because the idea of like a being that's so much more intelligent than you is just spying on you, that's creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's just fucking with you.
But yeah, Invisible Man. I liked it. I give it a 8 out of 10. Solid.
You do a 10-point scale for
everything.
Films?
Yep.
Wow.
Life in general. My life right now is at a good 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I'm at a 7.5. I know I'm at a 3.5. But like,
you're like a temperature. It's 80 outside, but it feels like 60 because of the wind.
Yep. We were also watching a little bit of TV show for our project that we said earlier on last episode. Watching a little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Mm-hmm. You're only like 3 episodes in.
3 or 4, yeah.
I have only 3 episodes left because I just binged them all. They're like 20 minutes each.
Yeah, I probably do it this weekend. I also been watching Community, but I've been watching Community for like 4 months. And
you know what?
It gets better. Gets better over time. It's one of those shows that like the first season wasn't that great, but they needed that first season to establish characters and stuff. And the show's pretty good at like making references.
To be quite honest, that's how like The Office worked. That's how Parks and Recreation.
I think that's
worked.
how comedy has. Yeah, exactly.
30 Rock. First season of 30 Rock was pretty bad, in my opinion. Got better.
I need to watch 30 Rock at some point.
I think I watched that a decade ago. You know what? So if you like Community, a show that you would like is Arrested Development. That's my favorite comedy show.
I think I've seen like 1 episode of it.
There's 3 seasons of it, and then like there's 2 Netflix seasons of it. The Netflix ones aren't all that great. There's some good parts in them, and I definitely recommend you watch them if you liked, the show proper. But yeah, oh my god, it's so funny.
People at work love Parks and Rec, and I've watched like 5 or 6 episodes. It just isn't clicking with me yet.
That's a show where like you need to be along for the ride. You need to be there when like Chris Pratt actually did go and become in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he comes back and he was like a fat dude, and then he had to be ripped and jacked, and they it's just funny to know this kind of stuff. And the characters are like, how did you lose all that weight? And he's like, all I had to do was just stop drinking beer. And it's just I don't know. It's one of those like kind of
I can appreciate
kind of shows.
I can appreciate it for sure. Like there's definitely moments where I'm like, oh, that was pretty funny.
And I will say this,
but it's not fully clicking for me. Where I'm just like,
yeah,
compared to Community, Community is not amazing, but
where,
like it's clicking with me more.
That's where Ben Schwartz,
exactly.
That child got his. I think his.
That's what I'm trying to get there. I want to get there.
He's so obnoxious in that show in such a great way. He's like basically like the cool suave tech bro, but he just is actually not cool, and he actually can't do anything cool. But he's like one of those. He's like a carousel character. They rotate him in for an episode if the plot needs it, and they'll rotate him out for like 5 or 6 more episodes where he won't be in it. Like he's a recurring guest. But it's funny too. Parks and Rec, made by the same. I'm not sure if the writers were the same, but definitely the same people that did The Office, the American version of The Office. And at one point for like a few years, they were running concurrently. Office was ending and Parks was kind of starting, and there's a moment where like the quality just seeped from Office straight into Parks and Rec, where Office became terrible and Parks and Rec became really good. But I recommend Arrested Development over that show anyway.
It's not true. I did have TV, but I never watched like any of those kind of shows for whatever reason. I don't know why. I guess I just kind of fell off. Most of the time I was watching like Ancient Aliens or some shit. That was more the stuff like God. I would be watching while I'm doing homework. I wasn't watching The Office or 8 o'clock. This comedy show's on, or Big Bang Theory. Any of those? Like I was
really.
The only like sitcom I guess I watched was That 70s Show, like where I've seen I think every episode.
Okay.
Because it was always on at like 4:30 when I got home.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, cool. I'll plug that on. And I actually enjoyed that show generally.
Yeah. Ashton Kutcher.
And I feel like I could relate to it more too because they're all teenagers.
He came from MASH.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think I even said this on the show. That 70s Show came out in the 90s, and it's been long enough that we could do That 90s Show. in the same
I'm
style.
surprised that no one's done it because the 90s is kind of like hot right now. I feel like in terms of like clothing and 80s too. That Stranger Things kind of put that on the map again.
It's funny you talk about like show watching rituals. The shows that like I watched all the time, it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30 or whatever. It was all Food Network shows. It was Good Eats with Elton Brown and something like I don't even remember the other two. I just remember that one because he was funny. And then like watching Hell's Kitchen a lot.
Did you watch Pioneer Woman?
Never heard of it.
Reed
Never
Drummond?
heard of it. No, never heard of it.
Highly recommend.
Do you?
It was always on at work, so like at work I would just kind of be like watching it, and like we're all watching it, and like I'll just be like commenting here and there. I'll just be like, because she'll be making the show's called Pioneer Woman. She is the Pioneer Woman. Her husband's some rich millionaire who owns like half of Oklahoma or something.
So she doesn't actually need to.
But she's also she's like a millionaire as well. From like she started as a blog, writing recipes and stuff, more like Midwest recipes, and then now they have a whole family, and like she does cooking, the classic cooking thing. Where like, oh, my boys are down at the farm today. I'm gonna go make them some baked mac and cheese before they get home, and that's kind of like that. But it's so funny because I'm like, not saying that she can't cook, but I would love to see a show where they throw her with like Bear Grylls or something and be like, okay, proved you're really a pioneer. Go hunt a rabbit and come make a stew before the sun goes down.
What you can find
before the sun comes down.
Yeah,
or goes down. So, but no, I just for my birthday, one of my coworkers gave me her ranch dressing.
Ew.
So I can't wait to try that. So it's kind of a
Remember
joke, but highly recommend. If you're into cooking, give it a shot.
Remember when Paula Deen said the N-word and then just got eviscerated off network?
What was that, like that was also like 2012, wasn't it?
It was around that time, yeah.
I remember my grandma was upset because she loved her. And I'm like,
that's what I had
Grandma,
to explain.
She said the N-word.
Just because
you can't
certain
do that.
people can say it doesn't mean other people get to say it. We need to stop.
And it wasn't like an accident kind of thing either. Like maybe you get one pass. She like it was clearly
a slip up.
It was a thing that she was saying for a while.
Then she got another show on something, and I don't think that really panned out all that well.
But that's where Pioneer Woman came from. Was that she kind of took that like Southern woman cooking area of the Food Channel. So without her saying the N-word, my girl Reed Drummond wouldn't have made an appearance. Maybe
I watched a lot of Giada. I forgot what her show's name was, but she was hot. That's the only reason why I watched her cooking show. And, Emerald, he's a classic. But then honestly, honest to God, the only besides Elton Brown, who I don't know if he considers himself a comedian, but he definitely is in that kind of role. The only cooking show that I was actually like excited to watch was Hell's Kitchen. Chef Gordon Ramsay is like a hero. He's so great. And then I watched his Kitchen Nightmares show. He I think did a hotel version of that. His wife is basically the Gordon Ramsay of hotels.
Did you ever watch Bar Rescue with John Taffer?
Yep.
Dude,
I've seen that.
That's like me and my dad and my brother's like thing to watch when we're hanging out. It's just put on Bar Rescue. I don't know why that became a thing, but we started doing that every time we hang out. We're somehow watching Bar Rescue. Shut it down.
Circling back to the beginning of this episode, another show I watched a lot was Kitchen Impossible.
I never heard that.
Yeah, that was a good one too. But no, like I watched a lot of cooking shows as a kid.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was just like what my mom watched, and I watched those too. And Hell's Kitchen was awesome.
No Grey's Anatomy? That's what my mom was watching.
Oh, God. No one was into soap operas at my place. Thankfully.
speaking of soap operas, now we're going to get into our main subject for this episode that I didn't tell you about ahead of time, but I know you will have opinions on it.
We talked about the Last of Us show.
Yes, that was what the quote was. It was from The Last of Us.
See, I when you said the quote earlier, I'm like, there's no way that's from The Last of Us. What could that even have been from?
I think it's the guy named Bill.
Yeah, I remember Bill.
He saves him. I guess that's what he says. According to thegamer.com.
Oh, well.
I didn't look up I didn't find a video version of it, so that could be a lie. I don't know. But yeah, the Last of Us series is in the works at HBO. So
I never read any of these details, so this is new information for me. I only know that it's happening.
So there was a show called Chernobyl, which was really, 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 really good on HBO. It was a 5-episode miniseries. So the creator of that, Craig Mazin, and Neil Druckmann, who obviously worked on the actual game, The Last of Us.
Right. He was the creative and writing director on that game.
So they're working together.
Who was the game designer.
So they're working together to make The Last of Us, which will be a TV show. I don't know if it's going to be a mini-series, or it'll be 4 episodes, or will it have 10?
It might be an 8-episode. HBO does that with a lot of adaptations.
So this came out a couple days ago from this recording. And this will be considered the first television series from the PlayStation Productions. And this is replacing the movie. That there was a rumor there was going to be a Last of Us movie. That is gone.
It wasn't a rumor. They were talking about that movie forever.
But no, now it's going to be officially a TV series. So it's not going to be 2 separate projects. It's going to be a TV series on HBO. And I trust HBO a lot. I mean, I know you've been kind of on the fence with doing video game movies that use the characters in the games, especially a game like Last of Us, where
I feel
they're not cartoon character.
Before.
Yeah, we did mention it, I think, in a previous episode.
Because initially the movies, and I imagine the show might be doing this too, but I don't know this. But the movie was just supposed to be the plot of the game, like a 1-for-1 the game story, and it never made any sense to me that they would do that, because all it's trying to say is that what people called The Last of Us, it's the best video game story ever. And the best that can be is just a movie. Always felt kind of like a spit in the face. So, then plus it's a 1-for-1, and it's not going to be the same actors. If you're not going to have the same actors, do something different with it. You know what I mean?
It says it will cover the events of the original game, which was written by Druckmann, with the possibility of additional content based on the forthcoming game sequel. This is from a Hollywood Reporter article, by the way. Obviously, the second game comes out on May 29th, but this will be much later. So we'll probably already know.
I'm going to take a week off of work for that.
I will say this, from someone who's seen Chernobyl and how much emotion that I got from that. They did a really good job of, because Chernobyl wasn't it was supposed to be a historical, almost.
It's a docu-series.
Yeah, exactly. Where it starts. Chernobyl starts with the day before the nuclear power plant goes through a meltdown or whatnot, and it just goes through the people who were involved in the workers who were in the station, the people in the town, and there was also characters who were in the government. And they also have people from USSR, and it has all these moving pieces, and they all interact with one another in different ways. But the show does such a great job of showing how much pain and scared these people were at the time of not knowing what's going on. Is the government lying to us? Because the government says at first that there's nothing wrong, you're all good. Yet they were in high radiation zones. There's one episode where they show the people who had to go rescue. Or no, not people who rescued them, but the original workers there when it all was happening, and how the makeup that they did is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen makeup that good in a TV series or even movie for that matter. Of just imagine your face basically puffing up and then just peeling away,
like a clicker from The Last of Us.
Yes, so maybe they'll have the same makeup and artist team that'd be really good, I think, for them.
And that's like...
But I'm saying, like, that makeup was so good that I was literally nauseous watching it. And I never felt that way before. Like, because it looks so, like, you can just see the pain in their eyes, but also seeing that, like, they're not even, like, their faces are gone pretty much because it's just peeling away. Just their skin's all dark and, like, charred. It's just, like, it was disgusting, honestly, like, to just see people in that kind of condition. And I think they can do a really good job with the makeup, especially with, like, the clickers and stuff. I'd love to see what that would look like.
And that, to me, so
I trust them, I guess.
I was never excited for the movie at all. As I just said earlier, I was against it. The show, on its own, shouldn't give me any more hope than the movie was. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe, I know HBO takes itself a lot more seriously than a random studio that might just try
imagine
to
if TBS did this.
And knowing that there is some pedigree to, the people going into it gives me a little bit better hope. I'm just honestly not all that jazzed for a Last of Us TV show that's just going to retell the game. Like, I'm really not. I don't know.
But my counter argument to that is this would bring a good story to audiences that not necessarily would have ever known about it. Because remember, Last of Us was, even for me, even on like the regular normal mode, is a challenging game for some people, and they might never finish it or never get to feel or go through the entire story because it's too hard. Like, my dad wouldn't be able to play it.
Yeah.
But he'd be totally interested in the story, 100%.
Yeah.
Granted, you could watch that on YouTube, I guess, or something like that.
I know Naughty Dog also has actually taken that stuff into account. Uncharted 4, which was a game that they made after The Last of Us, has a super duper easy mode that's basically just experience the story kind of mode. And I would imagine Last of Us Part 2 probably also has the same kind of thing. Last of Us is, I believe, the third best-selling PS3 game. Mm-hmm. Or at least best-selling exclusive, sorry, not... I
would have believed you.
I would imagine multiple
either
Call of
way.
Duties are better selling, and then also definitely Grand Theft Auto 5. But it's a big property, and it's going to draw more eyes to it. Announcing it now, and then the game's going to come out soon, and was there a date or any sort of time frame for? Yeah, so they probably
they're just writing
announced
it,
that they're starting it. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I love The Last of Us, the video game, a lot. I like it a lot.
I think most people
It's
do. It's
definitely one of my favorite games. I have kind of gone down on it more and more over the past few years. Maybe it's just because, it came out in 2013, and that was probably the apex of the conversations of our video games art. Look at, and that year had like BioShock Infinite and Grand Theft Auto 5 and a few other games that were big on story. It's like, oh, these game stories are getting deeper and they're more mature and they're really epic, and and games have had that since, like God of War or like plenty of other big games. But still, Uncharted 4. I mean, Uncharted 4 I think is a better game than The Last of Us, and I think it has a better story than The Last of Us. But if you go to a gamer, funny to say it like that, but if you someone like us that plays video games and is into like more of like the industry and isn't just into what they see their streamers play, like a Fortnite or something, if you ask them, what do you think the best video game story is, they'll just say The Last of Us. And like, that's just the game that people keep pointing to over and over and over again. And I'm not saying that they should feel wrong in saying that. I'm not saying Last of Us isn't a good story. It's a really great story. I have a little... It's not like this most... It's not the greatest video game story of all time. But it's a highly selling game that has a great story. So it hit more people than a game like Nier Automata did. God of War honestly probably hit more people than The Last of Us. And that's a great story, even though I never beat it.
It's more popular. That's the biggest thing. Like, if it's popular, it's going to be... People are going to say that first.
It just feels so backwards.
It's like saying Star Wars. People are going to be like, yeah, Star Wars is a great story, when honestly, I don't even know anymore after what they've been doing. but that's a whole other episode.
But you don't understand. Devin, you just don't understand. Like, here, let me explain it to you, all right? I have all these notes that we couldn't put into this movie because we had to fit an entire trilogy into this last film. But come on, man, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Rolling my eyes.
No, I just, I don't know. I get a little bit like, I don't know if the word I want to use is trepidatious. I don't even think I know what that means, but I don't. That word just came to my head. Maybe it just sounds nice.
It's a big word.
I get not anxious. I get cautious. That's the term I want to use. Whenever people bring that up as like this amazing story, because it might just disappoint other people. Be like, oh, well, this is supposed to be the best video game story. I guess there's not much going on in the video game space because it didn't hit me. Because people kept building it up as this great, amazing thing. You know what I mean? Because that happens a lot. You know far well how many times I've told you, gotta play this video game, it's so amazing. And then you do, and you're like, well, it's not as amazing as Ethan hyped it up to be. That's why David doesn't play any video games I recommend. But at all. And then, like, The Last of Us Part 2 looks like it's just going to be violence porn. Even though I know it's not. But I just get the feeling that, like, oh, yes, if we just mercilessly beat our main characters to death over and over again.
But then they come back strong.
Emotion. No, but not even that. Just we beat the shit out of them. That's emotion. And that's lessons that, like, I mean, so Uncharted was, you know, inspired by the Tomb Raider games, and then Tomb Raider was inspired back by Uncharted. This rebooted Tomb Raider franchise, how they feel like they're showing depth and character in Lara Croft is just beating the fuck out of her all the time. A lot of games, I feel like, just took the lesson of, like, our characters and our games and our stories are mature if we just beat the shit out of everyone instead of showing, like, happiness and emotion and empathy. I will say that The Last of Us games ending surprised me because it didn't do anything like that. The ending itself, it ended on a moment where I'm like, oh, one of them's gonna die or something.
Right. Yeah, I thought that's exactly what I thought.
You know what I mean? And it just ends on a lie, and that's it. I'm like, oh, this feels clever. I thought Uncharted 4, because keeping theme with Naughty Dog's games, was gonna end on like, oh, he's gonna die, or, you know, like, someone's gonna die. And no, it's just a straight up happy ending, and it feels earned, and it feels emotional, and it's great. I feel like people learn the wrong lessons from that game, and I don't think that game is trying to teach those lessons. But that's why I'm a little, if trepidatious is the term I want to use, if I ever figure out what that means, cautious about like this video game becoming a story, because I don't want people to be like, oh, well, people just get the shit beat out of each other, and that's emotion.
But with Sonic being successful and having a decent, wasn't amazing, you know, story by any means, but like it held its own.
And the mature gamers will say it's because they couldn't make him swear, shoot him in the face, or torture him.
But I'm saying, like, I think for video games to evolve, it has to successfully dip its feet into other media. Mm-hmm. Television, movies. It's been trying to do for how long, and it looks like we might be getting.
We think it's working now.
We think we might be onto something here. We'll see, because we originally thought Mario was the next one. No, Monster Hunter. All right,
that's right.
I'm kind of excited about that.
Yep.
That comes out in September. This fall for sure.
And I remember they announced it like shortly. They announced that they were Capcom announced that they had partnered up to make that film shortly after that. They announced that Monster Hunter World was their best-selling game of all time. So it's clearly capitalizing.
I totally
off that
forgot
success.
about it, to be honest, until I saw a poster for it.
It just made everyone laughed because it's like, oh, it's by the director of the Resident Evil films, which is a Capcom game series, and it's starring the actress from the Resident Evil films. So like, it just felt like, yeah, let's just keep moving on. Like, we have all this stuff in the pipeline, make another. But I'll watch those.
But I was going to say that even if it feels risky, I'd rather you take the risk than never knowing. Because who knows? Maybe they do this and the story is better. Like, maybe they retell it in a way that they couldn't do because of either time or something in the video game that they didn't want to, that wouldn't fit right with like the tone of the game or something like that. Like there's a lot of different things they can do with, I think, television as opposed to video games. Not saying that like video games is
definitely better than a movie could. A 2-hour movie, I don't think could have handled it as well.
I would agree with that. If anything, I like
there's just literally more
like
cutscenes in The Last of Us than a 2-hour movie. So then, yes, like it needs more time.
But I was gonna say is that not saying video games handicaps the story in any ways, but I feel like they can do more with. I feel like because video games is still so new, we know like movies have been around for so long now at this point that like they know ways to successfully portray this or portray that. So I feel like it's not as risky as it feels. I still think it's a little risky because if it comes out and it's really bad, and like let's say the average person who never played Last of Us but was interested in it then watches this and is like, well, that sucked. I'm never gonna play that game.
No one wants to fail when they had such like a home run, lofted to them.
Yeah. So
because
go ahead.
But I forgot what I was going to say. Trepidatiously, I forgot what I was about to say. No, the more of these video game projects in film and television come out, just the easier it's going to become to make good ones. Like just literally how comic book films happened. Eventually, they got it. They figured out the best way to portray what makes a comic book and its story unique on film. That'll happen with video games. I said on a previous episode that like I feel like I know how. I don't feel like we have enough time for me to really go into it, but there's a way to portray video games as a story and like a concept that isn't the same as like a drama or a thriller, because that's how we just get the same boring films that don't seem to click. Everyone said that what's your dude there? Jake Gyllenhaal's Prince of Persia movie. And
totally
Michael Fassbender's Assassin's Creed film. That was him, right? That was Michael Fassbender?
I think so.
Whatever. The Assassin's Creed film that came out a couple years ago.
Those
just feel like really boring and bad thrillers. They don't seem like they're even attached
or
to
action,
a video game.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like they weren't doing anything different.
They just took a property and they made it. You know what I mean?
Like they weren't doing anything different with it that wasn't like any other action film, I guess. It's hard to make an action film, I think, now, because so many things have been done before.
I mean, we watched Fast and the Furious, and they evolved that every single time.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as just zombie cars was more exciting than when they did the plane thing,
Exactly. It was like, that's so over the top that I'm like, that's never been done before. Freaking herd of just metal beasts coming towards me.
And I guess to be fair, so if we look at like upping the ante, is that the term?
Yeah.
If we look at like how action movies in a series up the ante every single time, like Fast and the Furious, or even the Uncharted video games, we always have to outpace ourselves than before, go up to the next level than before, go up to even better, even better, even better. But they're always within the context of high action, and then the thing that we previously were oohed and awed about. If you were to, let's say, the next, I guess Fast and Furious film, F9, was just very slow and somber and, like, not simple, but, like, it wasn't constant fast pace, and then they just do something crazy, it's going to hit you even more than something that was in the constant, just basically as if they just pumped NOS straight into our veins for 8 films straight, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what The Last of Us
I feel like
did,
the Fast and Furious movies is going to end. The last one has to be in space. You heard it here first, all right? I claim a lot of things on this show. I'm going to claim another thing, all right? Eventually I'll get it right.
Well, okay, so give yourself a bit more of a place to stand on here. By space, do you mean literally like in outer space, or like what if they just enter the stratosphere? You know what I mean?
Stratosphere is definitely more of a possibility, so I'll say that. Like, somehow they're like, they have to chase a shuttle down or something crazy, or get Air Force One. They have to save President Trump or something like that, where they're driving up like the space, like like in Seattle they have the Space Needle there, but like something like that, like goes to actual space and they have to drive up it vertically or some bullshit like that.
Space Needle's not that tall.
Because we saw in the trailer of Fast 9 that they put like looks like a rocket on the end of one and he just flies. So who's to say that they
true.
might go into space? I don't know. I said there's got it. Like the only way they can keep upping the ante, as you said, is they have to like eventually go to space, right? Like what more can you do? You've been in ice. You've been in.
Now
we're getting into Fast and Furious territory.
Okay, to wrap this back to video games. So you say the final frontier as space. You can't get any more bigger than space. You played a video game that I let you borrow called Super Mario Odyssey. Mm-hmm. The last 3D Mario game was Super Mario Galaxy 2. And before that was Super Mario Galaxy 1. And when they went to space, they're like, where does he go next? That's actually going to be more exciting and more interesting than outer space and all the wacky stuff they did. You played it, and that was a very good video game. So I don't think that literally space has to be the biggest and best
other universes,
thing.
I guess. It's space.
An alternate reality, time. They go back in time to 2001.
Oh my god! If they do that, then I'm going to lose my...
footage of Paul Walker.
I will walk out of the theater if we go into Fast 9, and at the end they're like, we got to go back. And like that's where the cliffhanger is like, they go through a portal and you don't know what's happening. Where are they going to go? They're going to bring back Paul.
Han drifts through the portal.
Maybe that's how he comes back. Who knows?
Yeah, how is he back? I mean, they could easily make up anything.
But he died. We got to... I'm sure
so did Owen Shaw.
We're going to review this.
He fell off a plane.
We're going to review this for our Vin Diesel episode. But speaking of Vin Diesel, next week is going to be a special Vin Diesel episode because next week is Bloodshot.
Oh.
We got to get tickets. Opening night, baby.
The 13th? March 13th?
Think so.
I have that day off.
Looks like we're seeing Bloodshot opening night.
Looks like we are. I have that day off. Yes, that's a Friday, Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. Oh, we should have done a spooky special episode.
We could still pretend it's spooky, but it's
later.
about Bloodshot.
Oh my god! Well, that won't be a Sonic movie show, so technically,
but that will replace a Sonic movie episode. So this is even though this episode kind of was roughly talking about our favorite cooking shows and The Last of Us.
What are we going to call the topic of this?
Cooking shows and The Last of Us? I don't know. I guess you could just call it The Last of Us.
Last of Us gets an HBO show.
Last
of Us on HBO?
Oh, that's a good title right there.
Question mark.
People will click that shit.
I'm sure they
listen
already have
for 3 minutes and then
I gotta
like, this isn't
short,
Last
though.
of Us. Last of Us on HBO. Last of HBO.
HBO of us?
HBO in us?
HBUs?
A lot of possibilities.
Anyway, well, do you have anything else you want to...
No, I thought that was a good way to wrap it up, so Bloodshot.
Yeah. All right. So, next week we're going to be watching Bloodshot. You'll get our review. You should go see the movie if you want to hear our full thoughts about it, but for any kind of review like that, we're going to first do spoiler-free for as long as we feel like it's comfortable, and then we're going to just spoil it. All bunch of Vin Diesel. It's funny that we're watching Vin Diesel's latest movie, before we even see his first one. You didn't see Awakenings yet, did
No,
you?
I totally forgot we have to do that.
Yeah, we need to watch Awakenings and Multifacial by April 1st. So, honestly, a week before then, because I got to edit that. But yeah, next week on Sunday, you'll catch our review of Bloodshot. So, vroom vroom, daddy.
Is that how you're ending it?